Well, despite foreign policy pressure from the United States, the economic relationship between Russia and the European Union continues to grow. And this is especially true for the partnership between Russia and Europe's economic powerhouse, Germany. Despite the flurry of recent sanctions against Russia, German investments in the country are the highest they've been in 10 years, exceeding 3 billion euros in 2018. The economic bond between the two nations is mostly notable and most notably visible in the construction of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline and expansion on the already active Nord Stream pipeline. Currently, the capacity of natural gas to be piped into Germany and from there to the rest of Europe will expand to over 110 billion cubic meters per year. Despite U.S. pressure, construction of the pipeline is on schedule. Now, for more on this, we go to former U.S. diplomat Jim Jatras. And Jim, welcome, sir.
Steve, good to see you.
All right, so let's talk about what's going on here. Why is Germany increasing its economic relationship and investments in Russia, despite the fact that they're part of NATO and supposedly view Russia in a non-favorable light, shall we say?
Well, because economically, it's a natural relationship. It's in Germany's benefit. It's in Russia's benefit. Germany is the economic powerhouse, the industrial powerhouse of the European Union, and Russia's not far away. The natural gas, especially, is cheap and abundant, and they're a good market for German products. So I think what we're seeing is a real disconnect between the politics of Europe, which are, as you say, NATO, 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 Russia, bad, bad, bad. And a lot of that, of course, is driven by Washington. And the Germans are not really able to stand up to that, so they go along with it. At the same time, their business community says, hey, we got business to do here.
Well, I remember, and I'm sure you do better than I, the NATO summit last year, I believe it was, when Donald Trump, to their face, basically, said to Germany, this gas deal you have with Russia, the pipeline, is unacceptable. I mean, you know, you can't be doing that. If you want to be in NATO, we're paying for you, blah, 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 and then you're doing this with Russia. So is Merkel just totally ignoring that, and at what cost, possibly?
You know, I think she's a very weak chancellor, and far outlived whatever benefit she might have been to Germany, much less to the rest of Europe. And she's being buffeted about, on the one hand, being pushed by the Americans not to pursue this relationship with the Russians, on the other hand, pushed by their own companies in Germany, for whom this is very serious business, losing billions of dollars on these ridiculous sanctions against Russia. And I think she's being pushed both ways.
Well, how might Trump and the administration react? I mean, when he sees this story, when he watches this interview, and he finds out that Germany's increasing, they're not listening to me, they're increasing their investments in Russia, and other countries are too, as we'll get to in a second. How might he react? But let's stick specifically to Germany and to Merkel.
I think it really comes down to which Trump we're talking about. We talk about the Donald Trump America First, who wants to have a better relationship with Russia, or we talk about a Donald Trump who's been captured by the deep state, who's simply pursuing the same failed policies of the past. All this talk about we protect the Germans, and protect them against whom? Against the Russians? They don't feel there's a threat. Nobody in Europe actually believes there's a threat from the Russians. So this idea that they need to spend more on NATO is, I think, a real departure from what he really promised, and to try to put pressure on the Germans to threaten them over Nord Stream 2 has nothing to do with American interests, and certainly not German interests.
Well, that opens up, we need you back, that opens up a whole new discussion on NATO. But let's talk about the president of Estonia. Also paid a visit to President Putin in Moscow, and that follows Finland and Austria and other countries that are doing the same exact thing. Are we witnessing a trend here?
I think it's too soon to say. There certainly are some countries in Europe, Hungary, Austria, Slovakia, that would like to have a better relationship with Russia. A lot of people in Germany would like to see that. Poland, even though they're close to those countries on many things, are very, very anti-Russian. And Estonia has generally taken a very anti-Russian policy, the other Baltic states as well. However, when the Estonian president went there, she was very correct, very restrained in her language, and so I think she would like to find some way to repair that relationship, but it's a very fine line for her to walk.
Well, she said that she went there to talk about the hard issues.
Yes.
What are the hard issues between Russia and Estonia?
Well, the hard issues, first off, have to do with Ukraine, have to do with NATO military pressure on Russia, and this kind of crying wolf we get from the Baltic states a lot. Oh, the Russians, you have to defend us against the Russians, even though if there ever were a war, God forbid, nobody is going to defend the Baltic states, and everybody knows this. So I think this is maybe trying to inject some reality into the discussion.
Always great to talk to you, sir. Appreciate your expertise. Thank you.
I'm Rick Sanchez. You found us on YouTube, and that's awesome. But you know what? I'm also live every night at 7 and 8 p.m. Eastern on DirecTV and Dish and cable and satellite, the RT app, and Pluto TV. I'll see you there.